Do you want to make your sound design feel like this?
We all know saving the world has its risks. So Bob from HR has enhanced our health benefits by switching us to Select Health.
I used to struggle to make my sound design pop until I created a 4-step sound design system I now use on broadcast TV commercials with budgets of $100,000 and higher. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what those 4 steps are so you can impress your clients with pro sound design every time without the stress. But before I share step 1, there's a mistake editors make that's stopping their sound from ever feeling broadcast ready. Early in my career, sound design was always an afterthought. Like a lot of young editors, I thought my job was to focus on the picture, and sound was something that would be handled by someone else later on. Then one day, I remember bringing a cut to an early mentor of mine, and I thought it was pretty polished. It had a music track. I think the picture cuts were pretty good. I was pretty confident in it, but he watched it, and when we got to the end, he simply said, "Hey, let me watch it again, but this time with the music off." And I was a little scared because I knew I had no other sound design beside that music track. So I turned the music off, we watched it again, and it absolutely fell apart. And my mentor knew it would. He was teaching me that our cuts have to work without a music track. In fact, music can lull us into thinking our sound design is good enough when it's really not. So the first thing you have to do in this process is to delete that music in your cut so you can really hear what's missing in your soundtrack. Now, let me show you what you should start with instead. And if you're tired of wasting hours trying to find the perfect sound effects, download my free sound effects search term guide at the link in the description. Step 1. Once I got serious about sound design, I realized it was at least of equal importance as picture, and the older I get, the more I'm convinced that sound is actually more important than picture. So years ago, I started asking myself this simple question every time I brought a new shot into my timeline. What is the sound of the shot? And usually it starts with background ambience. Even if your clip comes with audio attached, it's rarely what you need to make your video come alive. So before I touch anything else, I want my shots to live in a believable soundscape. For example, here's a spot I edited, and the world is a superhero layer. So as soon as I asked what's the sound of these shots, I'm thinking of an interior filled with high-tech hums and maybe beeps. Here are those shots with only the ambience turned on. So step 1 is to build out your ambience. And that's a great first step in bringing your soundtrack to life, but your sound is still not broadcast ready until you do this. Step 2, once the ambience is in place, I move on to dialogue. And here's why I don't start with dialogue. I like to give my dialogue or voiceover a bit of context of the world it's living in, and by building out that ambience, it really helps with that. So once I start cutting my dialogue, I'm basically trimming out any unwanted noises between words or phrases. But every time I make a cut, I'm left with a silent gap. And what you want to do is fill those with room tone. So instead of letting your dialogue or voiceover editing fall to silence, use room tone to fill those spaces so the edits aren't noticeable. Here's that scene again with just dialogue and room tone.
We all know saving the world has its risks. So Bob from HR has enhanced our health benefits by switching us to Select Health.
So step 2 is to edit your dialogue and add room tone where necessary. Now you're ready to bring the scene to life. And unfortunately, this is a step that a lot of editors skip. Step 3. In step 1, we asked the question, what is the sound of the shot, to help us build out the background ambience. Now let's ask that same question to help us find specific sound effects that can bring each moment to life. Check out this frame. So I see a superhero's cape. That could definitely make a sound like a whoosh sound or a flowing cloth sound. I also noticed the main character is walking, so we could have some footsteps. And then here, her hands hit the table pretty hard. So that could also be a sound that we look for. So let's check out the cut and watch how I layered in each of these sounds. First, the cape, then the footsteps, and finally, her hands hitting the table. Now, each of these sounds on its own may not seem very important, but together they really add up and bring this scene to life. And now let's watch it again with the dialogue and the ambience also turned on.
We all know saving the world has its risks. So Bob from HR has enhanced our health benefits by switching us to Select Health.
So step 3 is to add your specific sound effects to key moments. And if you want to save hours searching for sound effects, download my free sound effects search term guide at the link in the description. But there's still one last crucial step to have a broadcast-ready soundtrack. Step 4. So I had you delete or mute your music at the start so you could make sure your soundtrack was working in a few other areas. And now that we have that sound design built up, we can experiment with music. And the key to finding the perfect music track is always to start with an emotional target in mind. What do you want the audience to feel in this moment? For this scene, I wanted the audience to feel excitement right out the gate, like they're watching a big Hollywood superhero movie. And here's the opening scene with just the music track. And if I'd started with this big booming music track, it might have overwhelmed everything else, and I might have gotten lazy and not built out the other sounds that I really think make it all work. So here's the final opening scene with everything turned on.
We all know saving the world has its risks. So Bob from HR has enhanced our health benefits by switching us to Select Health.
So step 4 is to add music that evokes your target emotion. And if you want to go deeper with sound design and work through these steps on high-end projects with personal feedback from me, click the link in the description to check out my editing program. So now you know the 4-step sound design system I use on 6-figure commercial projects. But even with these skills, your editing income still might not be where you want it. So watch this video next to learn the 5 things blocking your editing income pipeline and how to fix them. Happy editing.